y'all. Welcome to the Memoirs of a Sinner, a personal growth podcast by Her Kinkz.
In John chapter 1, John the Baptist is telling Pharisees that who they've been searching for is among them. They just don't recognize him. He then goes on to say that he himself didn't even recognize who he was preparing the way for. God the Father had to tell John that he would provide a specific sign and that John would see God's Spirit resting on the promise like a dove. There were many false prophets that pretended to be the Messiah. So God the Father made sure that John got his evidence from the source so he wouldn't second guess it. Now let's fast forward a bit. John finds himself in a hardship. He knows that God gave him all the signs, but now he's second guessing it. He sends a messenger to Jesus to ask him, "Are you really the Messiah? Because surely, if God's promise has shown up and all the miracle signs and wonders are happening, I shouldn't be suffering." In Matthew 11, verse 5, Jesus responds to John's message by letting him know that the promise is still a promise and progress is still being made. The blind see, the lame walk, those with leprosy are cured, the deaf hear, the dead are raised to life, and the good news is still being preached to the poor. I felt like John, seeing God's promise in the flesh. Had all the signs that it was exactly what God said it was going to be, and now I'm suffering. Feeling like Miss Sophia in The Color Purple. All my life I had to fight. God promised the Israelites the land of Canaan in the book of Exodus, but they had to fight for it. It was theirs. It belonged to them. The person who made them the promise was in charge of everything, but that didn't negate the fight. God took them the roundabout way through the wilderness before they arrived at the promise because he knew they weren't prepared to fight coming out of Egypt. He wanted them to learn to put their trust in him no matter the circumstances because they would need to be fully dependent on him later. When the Israelites were thirsty, God made water flow from out of a rock, not once, but twice. He split the Red Sea so they could walk across on dry ground, and he did the same exact thing at the Jordan River. He healed them from a snake bite just by giving them a snake to look at. He even fed them bread that rained down from heaven. I can go on and on about God's faithfulness. Our season in the wilderness, our prep season, is intentional. God knows the fight that comes with the blessing, and he knows how much we can bear, which is why he says in Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6, that we should trust in him with all our heart and not rely on our own understanding. If we seek his will in all we do, he'll show us which path to take. Exodus chapter 3, verse 17, God tells Moses that the land he promised would be full of enemies they'd have to defeat. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12 reminds us that we are fighting against evil spirits in heavenly places. And because of this, verse 13 says that we need to put on the full armor of God in preparation for this fight. All of our trust needs to be in God so we can still be standing on the other side of an already won battle. When we have cleared the way for God to do what only he can do, that comes with us having to surrender. Surrendering how it should happen, what it's supposed to look like, how we think it should feel, and wholeheartedly putting our trust in Jesus. He tells us that he has gifted us peace for our heart and our mind in John chapter 14. Peace be sitting in the corner collecting dust until we open that thing up and use it. In John 16, Jesus prepares us even more for promises disguised as hardship. I'm saying the word disguise because oftentimes we are so focused on our experience from a surface level that we ain't took the time to look at it through God's eyes and not our own. I have a quick story time, and yes, it's a true story. A woman was seeking to buy a new home. She asked God for confirmation. He gave it to her. So she stepped out, saw something she really liked, but it wasn't in her budget, so she decides to go for a different home. Now, the process of investing in the home she was settling for starts feeling off, so she backs out of it and loses her deposit. Obviously, things start getting overwhelming because she asks God for confirmation on even buying a new home, and things just aren't working out. So she's back at the drawing board. All of a sudden, the subdivision with the house she wanted from the get-go marks down their prices and is right in her budget. She gets it, closes on it next month, and what she got, in her own words, is 1,000,000 times more better. With the right perspective and now understanding, we can look at what initially feels like a great loss as a major win. Last week, my cousin and I were sitting each other's sermons to keep us encouraged during this season, and I shared with her what God had just shared with me, to open up that box of peace. Jesus said that it is in Him that we will experience this kind of peace. While on earth we will have many trials and sorrows, but we are to be encouraged because He has won the victory over them all. I love you all in real life.
If you'd like to stay connected, you can follow me on Instagram at the Insta About Her, TheinstaAboutHer, and make sure you subscribe and leave a review.